Welcome, Rick Lippert. It is a
Hi,
joy to
Deb.
have you here.
My pleasure to be here. I don't know why you're talking to me, but here we are.
Well, we are talking to you because A, you're one of my favorite people, but also because you were a part of the original cast of the Oklahoma City Project that we did on the 10th anniversary of the bombing.
I was. And because the audio portion is going to be played on April 19th
Yes.
of 2020, and I have that archival recording, the video and audio recording, just earlier this morning, I finished preparing that for the radio broadcast. So I got to relive the whole thing one more time. And I'm glad there's been a couple of hours between then and now, because
we were going to do an expanded version and we were all going to be a part of it. And we were very excited to work on it until the COVID crisis.
Right.
But we're so excited that Gwen is going to give us the opportunity to rebroadcast the audio version next Sunday night, this Sunday night, the 19th
Yes.
at 8 p.m. on KTOK AM 1000.
That's correct.
So please thank her for that.
Believe me, I have, and she has thanked me. She's very honored that OKC Rep would share this production with her so she can do her part to commemorate this. You know, she wasn't on the air on April 19th, but she was on the air for many, many days following April 19th and worked at KTOK during those days. And boy, does she have stories.
Yeah, tell me, when you mentioned that, I'm fascinated. Who was calling her? Were they survivors? Were they family members? Was it just general public? Who were her basic callers at that point?
Well, she did a combination of in-studio hosting and reporting, and also location reporting, where she went to the First Christian Church and talked to any of the family members of victims and survivors who wanted to talk. You know, the media couldn't force anyone to talk to them, nor should they. But at the First Christian Church, the Family Center, the Compassion Center, I think they called it.
Yes.
The volunteers would go inside and say, there are some media folks out here. Does anyone want to talk? And you would be surprised at how many people volunteered. They wanted to get out there to tell their loved one's story. So she did a lot of that. And then she did a lot of in-studio stuff with typically a grief counselor by her side. So she would field calls from everybody who expressed all kinds of emotions, the entire gamut of emotions.
Walk me through what you remember from that day.
Well, I was downtown.
You were.
I was 2 blocks south. I was on the top floor of the county courthouse. I was playing back a videotape that was going to be shown in a trial, a deposition, a video deposition in a trial. Top floor, north side of the county courthouse. And the trial was supposed to start at 9 o'clock. So the jury was all seated. We were all ready to go. And all of a sudden there was a big boom and the windows blew out.
Oh my.
And one of the attorneys, I think it was a civil case. And so one of the attorneys, who I think was the plaintiff attorney, got up and went over to the window that had blown out. Wow. And looked down and said, "Oh, natural gas explosion. Let's get this going on. Let's get back to work." And nothing happened for a moment. I got up and walked over to the window, and I didn't look. I mean, I did look down, and I saw some construction going on down there, but nothing was out of sorts down there. I looked north, and I could see through the Murrah building, and I knew that wasn't right. Yeah. Plus, a large part of the ceiling, a large part of the roof was gone, and the plastic roofing sheeting was flapping in the wind like a flag. And I thought,
what did you feel at that moment?
Well, I'm not sure. I just, my gut sank, my heart sank. I knew something horrible had just happened. And so about that time, all this is happening within about 30 seconds or so. And so about that time, the bailiff came in and escorted the jury out because they were frantic because, they're stuck in a jury box over there.
Oh,
And
God.
they escorted us all out, and they said, we're vacating the building, we're walking down the stairs. And so I just had to turn off my gear and leave it there. And it wasn't my gear, but I still, was protective of it. That day, because I knew I was going into a courtroom and I knew I was only going to be there for about an hour, I left my cell phone in my car in the parking garage of the county courthouse. So I had no way to call Gwen, who was, we were engaged at the time. And when I had left the house that morning, she asked me where I was going, and I told her I was going to the county courthouse. In her mind, she thought I said the federal courthouse. First reports were that the federal courthouse had been bombed.
So Gwen had no way of getting a hold of you.
Right.
And she, in her mind, believed that you may very well have been in that building.
Right. She knew that I was wearing a purple shirt that day. So she's at home glued to the TV. And because we were part of a trial, they kept us together and we couldn't even disperse. We couldn't leave.
Oh, God.
So we're huddled together in this parking lot that is now where the cafe is for the Museum of Art. That was just a parking lot. And finally, and people are streaming by and they're bloody and they're shell shocked and they're covered in dust. And it was horrific to look at. But they told us we couldn't go anywhere. We had to stay there. And then finally, after about 45 minutes to an hour, they said we could go. Well, I knew, but we couldn't go to the parking garage because it was between the county courthouse and the federal building. So I couldn't go get my cell phone. So I went south into Leadership Square, where I knew a woman who owned a travel agency on the ground floor. And I went in there and called Gwen.
Oh.
While I'm on the phone is when people just come running through saying, second bomb.
Oh,
and
my
I gotta
God.
go. Pick me up on the south side of the Myriad Gardens, got to go by. And so I just walked down there and sat on a wall. And here's a funny story. Security wasn't what it was then, what it is now. And she had in her glove box in her car a little green card that had, remember press-on letters? Press-on transfer letters.
Sure.
She had a little green piece of construction paper, like from grade school, with press on, rub-on letters that said press on it. No logos, nothing official, but she pulled that out. They had already blocked off the exits on I-235, the southbound exits.
Oh, my goodness.
So she gets off at 6th Street. There's a cop there, and he says, no, the exit's closed. She pulls out this green piece of paper that said press on it. And he moved the roadblock out of the way to let her in.
Okay, best story ever.
So she goes down and picks me up, and she will tell you that I looked like a lost little boy sitting on that wall.
Oh, my God.
So we went from there and went to class in School of Advanced Studies where my daughter was in school, and I pulled her out, hugged her so tight it made her mad. So
sure. Oh, my goodness. So all right, so then 10 years later, Ruth Arnay comes to you and says, and I can see 25 years later how deeply these impressions are still lodged in your soul. And she comes to you 10 years later and says, I would like you to be in this production where we're going to recount actual stories of survivors, first responders. How were you able to do it?
Acting. I'm just playing a part. Those weren't my words. Those weren't my stories.
Yes.
Just acting.
The Alfred P. Murrah Federal Office Building attack today held 550 employees as well as a daycare center. Officials on the scene have said the explosion appeared to be caused by a car bomb although the investigation is just beginning. Hundreds are still unaccounted for, and federal bomb experts and investigators have been arriving in the city throughout the day. The scene was more appropriate to a third world war zone than a city in the middle of the United States. Hundreds of people were injured, both in the federal office building and other structures surrounding it.
I just took myself out of it. I will tell you though, in watching the video replay as I've been preparing the video, I saw certainly in my last bit how close I came to not finishing that.
Yeah. It is astonishing that all of you, and many of you, did have moments in that
We
video
all did.
of deep mourning and sorrow, and we could see that through tears, and yet still you all remained so incredibly professional.
It was I hate to use the word amazing, but it was an amazing production. I was so proud to be a part of it, and
Yes.
and never hesitated for a second when Ruth asked me to be involved. Just never hesitated. If Ruth is involved in it and she thinks I'm worthy of playing with her, send me in, coach.
Yeah, I understand that. And tell me a little bit about, so now 25 years have passed.
Yes.
Um,
Seems like yesterday now.
does it?
Well, because I have the benefit of watching the video over and over again, and now having listened to just the audio,
Mm-hmm.
and talk about hearing the emotion in the voices. Oh gosh, it's powerful.
Yeah, I even think in a way that the radio broadcast may be even more powerful to the listening audience, because they will conjure up those images, and they have those images in their minds and, born into their skulls. And
I challenge anyone who listens to the broadcast. I challenge anyone to remain dry-eyed when they hear these stories, because radio is, theater of the mind.
yes.
And when you hear these actors reading these words, performing these words, your mind creates the pictures.
Yes.
And it's more powerful than just watching actors sitting on chairs on the stage.
And that the actual broadcast was powerful, the video that I watched, but I think you are right. And I think there's a sense of, you're hearing the newscast, and then you're hearing people, and that sense of chaos and confusion and despair. When you're just listening, it's even more powerful.
I think it's much more. And in fact, if anyone watches it online, so to speak,
Yes.
Close your eyes. Just close your eyes and see how much more powerful it is.
Well, a lot has changed in
Yes.
25 years. And do you see any similarity between this crazy crisis where we're all we're isolated, we can't get to each other, we're craving each other, we want to know if everyone's okay? Is there something going on here?
The commonality that I see is the fact that everyone's buying into the notion that we're all in this together. This is a shared experience.
Well, Rick, I cannot thank you enough. You
You're
are
welcome.
a wonderful man, a good friend, and thank you for sharing your thoughts about this. All right,
Thanks, Debra.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.